Let's do it. Let's get started. Once again, guys, thank you so much for joining. In this webinar, as I mentioned before, we'll be covering a few things. So first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm one of Customily's founders, and I'm the CEO. And in this webinar, we'll be covering some tips and tricks to get the most value out of our software, and especially save time while using our software. So we'll be covering 4 tips and tricks in order to save time and make the process more streamlined when you're creating templates. And we will also save some time for answering your questions. And we'll be giving away a prize, which is something that I'll save for last. So make sure to stay until the end of the webinar so you can participate in the raffle and have a chance to win a very interesting prize. All right, so with that out of the way, let's get started with the basics. What is Customly? This is an introduction. As you know, Customly, it's a design tool that makes it easy for online stores to sell personalized products. On one hand, you can give your customers the possibility to see a live preview with the personalization they entered. So they can type text, they can upload pictures while seeing a live preview of how their product would look like. And after they buy, our software can also generate a file that is ready to print, ready to engrave or embroider, so you can automate your production and fulfillment process as well. Our software is a cloud-based service, so there is no need for you to install anything on your computer. You don't need to code, and it's self-onboarding. Right now, you can install our software and start selling personalized products right away. There is no need to interact with anybody else than yourself and the software. So where you can use it, we integrate with any e-commerce platform. These are just of the few most popular e-commerce platforms. We work with Shopify, we work with BigCommerce, we work with WooCommerce, and so on. And the interesting thing is that you could also integrate it on marketplaces, not only e-commerce platforms, but if you sell products on Etsy, which is a very popular marketplace to sell personalized products, you can also use our software. We also work with Walmart, DSV, and other marketplaces. If you're interested in learning more about this, just feel free to shoot us an email so we can give you the list of all the marketplaces or e-commerce platforms that we integrate with. On top of that, if you have a custom developed e-commerce platform, nowadays going headless is very popular and you like to install a tool like ours, you could also do that via our API. So once again, if you're interested in evaluating this possibility, and if you have something that is a little bit more complex than an out-of-the-box e-commerce solution, just let us know and we will help you out. On the other hand, we are also integrating with fulfillment providers such as Printful and Printify, so you can have a fully automated personalization process from the product personalization by your shopper until that order is processed and fulfilled by the print-on-demand fulfillment partner, such as Printful and Printify, so you won't need to do anything, and you can start receiving orders without moving a finger. So why you should choose Customly? There are over 1,500 stores using us every day. They are generating over 45,000 orders. They've reported they increased their 30% on average, the conversion rate, because their shoppers are able to understand exactly how the personalization would look like. And this reduces the uncertainty that comes when buying personalized products, right? So because they are able to just by personalizing the product, see right away how that would look. It would, as I said before, reduce your cost. You're able to deliver your product faster. As a matter of fact, we have customers that are receiving orders and fulfilling them the same day. And the most important part is that we have a completely dedicated customer support team that is only there to answer your questions and help you get the most value out of our software. How you can get it. So you can try our software for free for 9 days on Shopify. So you can install our 9-day free trial and use it as much as you want. During those 9 days, you won't be charged a cent. Or if you have other e-commerce platforms, you can also write us an email and we'll be getting back to you with the installation steps on other e-commerce platforms. As I said before, the installation process for popular e-commerce platforms such as WooCommerce, BigCommerce, and Magento is very, very streamlined. If you have something that is a little bit more different, we could also help you out with the assistance of our dev team. You can also request a demo at www.customly.com, or you can email us at hello@customly.com. So now it's time for our tips and tricks, the juiciest part of our webinar, how to save time using libraries. So let's talk a little bit about libraries before we get started. Libraries are something that I love because they really help you optimize your time. Libraries are a way to organize different assets and have them across the different products. So in order to understand how libraries work, I would like to share my screen and walk you through an example so you have a much better understanding of that. So I'll just go ahead and share my screen. Let me know once you're able to see it, and I'll get started. All right. I think that I'm sharing my screen. Am I sharing my screen? Awesome. All right. So now let's talk a little bit more about libraries. So what we are going to see right now is the libraries interface on our backend. So as I said before, libraries are a great way to organize your assets. So here what we're seeing is a doc library. And basically what we could do is we can upload different elements to the libraries. Here we're uploading images, but you can upload different fonts, different colors, different vector files as well, or vector images and regular raster images. So as you can see here on this doc library, I just uploaded 3 different doc breeds. And when I use this library on a template, this is how it would look. So if I go here, as you can see, I'm seeing the 3 dogs that I have on my library, right? So let's imagine for a second that apart from selling this t-shirt, I'm selling a mug and I'm using the same dog library, right? So if you're not using libraries, the process is basically going and you want to add a new dog. Okay, so let's say I created these 3 dogs and I want to add a new dog so the customer can, use that dog to personalize the product. If you're not using libraries, then what you should do is you should go product over product and add that new dog. If you're using libraries, just by updating the library, all the products that are using that library, so if I'm selling t-shirts, if I'm selling mugs, if I'm selling cell phone cases, all those products will be updated automatically just by adding this new dog. So let's see how it works in real life. As you can see here, I have 4 dogs and I will add an additional dog. So here on my library, I'll click upload image and I go to my documents. Let me just close my Slack. There you go. Sorry for that. I go to my dog here and I just click upload image. It's uploading to the software. And now we'll see how that reflects on the library. Create image. Awesome. So I have my dog uploaded here. As you can see, it's part of my dog library. I already created this library, but you can, just click on add library and start uploading your images. And now if I refresh this page, what I'll see is the new library, the new element of this library. So apart from selecting all these elements, I can select my dog here and see how that looks in the preview. All right. So this is a little bit how libraries work. And now let's concentrate on how to, get the best value out of our libraries. So there is, let me just go back to my webinar view. There we go. All right. So my first step is how to use categories. Categories are a way to create structure on your libraries. Categories are great when you have a lot of selections. So for example, here we're using categories to split the different cats in different categories. So here what we see is that each category has a different set of cats, right? Once again, categories are great when you have a lot of options and you don't want your customers to scroll through those options endlessly. And by creating categories, just by having the customer choosing a particular category, they'll be able to see all the elements that belong to that category, right? So here, if I click on short hair, I'm only seeing the dogs that have short hair. If I click long hair, I'm seeing the dogs that have longer hair. And Scottish, it's pretty much the same. I'm not a cat expert, but here, this is pretty much how you can categorize your different cats, right? Let's understand how this was created so you can replicate it on your store. So if we go to here, we're going to go to the dog library, which is over here. All right, so in order to create a category, first of all, you need to start creating a library. So you can click Add Library, and here you can name your library according to your like. So here you can enter test category, for example, and you'll create a category, right? So once you're within that category, this is the category that I just created, but in this case, I'll use an already existing library, which is my cat library over here. So once that you created that library, you start adding categories, right? You start adding structure to your libraries. So in this case, I created 3 categories: the short hair, the long hair, and the Scottish, right? Each category has also a thumbnail, right? This is the icon that we are seeing here, right? So I can upload not only the elements that belong to that category, but also the thumbnail for that specific category. So as we were seeing here, if I edit the Scottish hair category, I can add more elements to that category, right? So in this case, I have 3 cats, but as you can see, I also had 3 cats on all these different categories. Once again, what's best about categories, in my opinion, is that categories, they can be used as a filter, right? So instead of showing the 9 cats altogether that belong to that library, when I choose a particular category, I can only show the elements that belong to that category, and we help the shopper streamline their selection process, right? Instead of being scared by seeing 1,000 options, they see a couple of categories, a couple of options, and they have a much more, let's say, easier way personalizing that product. All right. Now let's go to our second tip, how we should name our library files or the clipart files. So as we were just seeing, and let me just go ahead and share my screen once again, when we were talking about libraries, and I created this new element on my library, this is the name that I'm seeing, right? So I wasn't, very careful of choosing a great name for this element. I just downloaded this picture from the internet, uploaded it to Customly, and that's why I'm seeing this, which doesn't look very good for the customer, right? So in order to prevent that, a great trick is to use the names that you want to be visible on your e-commerce store as the name files, and we'll cover how that works. So here, let me go to my image. As you can see, it's just doing a basic renaming. So I'll just call this Smiley Dog. There we go. And I would re-upload it on my library. Once again, let me go to my dog library, which is over here. There we go. I'll just delete this one. And I would upload the image with the new name, which is over here. And I'll just wait for a second and see how Customly makes its magic. All right, I have my Smiley Dog. Let's refresh this and see if it worked. Smiley Dog over there. So once again, this is very, very helpful. So you should make sure that you should name your libraries, the elements that belong to that library as you want your shopper to see them on your e-commerce store. You can also upload several elements to the library or the category. So for example, if I click on add image and I go to another folder, I can select different images here and I will be uploading them all together, but make sure that the order that shows up here is the order in which the elements will be reflected on the product on Customly, right? So if you want to have a particular order, this is usually sorted alphabetically. But if you want to have a particular order, just make sure to include a 1, 2, 3, and then upload that to Customly so you can see that exact order reflected on the selection the customer will make on the store. All right, so let's go back to the presentation. Tip number 3, using option titles to name layers. This is something that also saves a lot of time. And this is something that usually people are not very used to because it's sort of a new feature, but we'll cover that in a second. So I'll go back to sharing my screen and I'll take it from there. Okay, so I'll go to the template view and I'll go to this product that we were just looking at. Okay, so here what we see is that we have the different design elements, right? So we have this clip art library. As you remember, this is the library that we use. We never saw this view in this webinar before, but this is where you will assign your library. And this is something that we didn't cover because, well, it's something that we can see. Basically, in order to assign a library, you just create the dynamic image element and you click on pick library, and then you can select the library that you just created. So this is the dog library that we created. We see all the dogs that belong to that library. And what's interesting about this tip is that, as you can see, every time that you create an element, there is a layer that gets created here, right? So if I click, for example, on text box, I'm creating a text box that has text element ID 7 as the default name. If I publish this, my customers on the text field will be seeing that, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's why we always recommend, when you're creating the library, to name that field according to something your customer would understand, right? So here, dog name, right? This is the text field that we created. And this is, why when we type something here and it says dog name, the customer will understand that that is the name of the dog they should enter, right? This not only helps your customer, understand how the personalization should work, but also it helps you keeping things organized. When you have a lot of fields, it's great to name those fields. So just by looking at the name, you're able to understand what that field should do. All right, let's go back to our list of tips. And the last step, how to avoid having a pre-selected option on the preview. So this is also very related with libraries, but it could also be done using regular elements on image placeholders. So let's go ahead and see how that works while I'll share my screen. All right, so this is a great example of that in action. So here, what we did was creating different hats for the dogs, right? So we have the red hat and we have the green hat. So as you can see, if I refresh this page, by default, if I select a dog, right, there is no hat selected, right? Because for some reason, the customer maybe is not buying this during Christmas and they are not interested in having their dog having a hat, sorry. And that's why when you choose a dog, by default, there is no hat. But you can also have the option to include a hat or even remove that hat. So how it happens that when we are selecting a dog, there is no hat selected? Well, it's because we're leaving an empty space on that library, and we will cover that right away. So if I go to libraries here, we are going to we have a Santa's hat. This is the library that we were looking for. So as we can see here, we have two hats, but there is one interesting thing. There is no option number 1. We left that option number 1 empty because we want the customer to be able to select a hat, but also have the possibility to select no hat, right? So what we did there is creating a library, and I can show you how that is done. If we go to libraries, add library, once again, test library, we'll create the library, and right now go to my test library and I would add images. And here, if I switch to position 2 and I upload my images, I'll be uploading the images from the position 2 on, right? I'll be skipping, sorry, here, as you can see, the initial position is 2, so I'll be skipping the first position. So by default, that dynamic image won't show. We'll be only seeing that if the customer selects option 2 or option 3, but by default, that dynamic image won't be visible. And that's our 4th tip. Now, oops. All right, as we can see, all this was covered, and now it's our time for Q&A. And guys, I would also like to mention that for you that stay during the entire time, we'll be giving away a very interesting prize, as I said. Is it okay if I tell what the prize it is? All right, so what we're giving away, it's a free Customily membership for life. Okay, so guys, once again, after we're done with this webinar, we'll be asking a question. And if you know the answer to the question, you'll participate on the raffle. So you'll have the chance to win a free subscription for life. And right now, let's start with the questions and answers. All right, so if the first question, if I'm not wrong, is with libraries like you have shown, do you still have an option set on this product? Yes, so libraries are actually a wrapper, I would say, of the option sets. In other words, every time that you're creating a library and you're connecting that library with a product, there is an option set that gets created behind the curtain, right? I didn't show that because right now we're trying to simplify things, but the truth story is that every time that you're creating a library and connecting that library to a product, an option set gets created with the conditional logic, right? If you include categories, the conditional logic is responsible for showing and hiding the different elements. So yeah, the short answer is that every time that you're using a library and connecting it to a template, an option sets will get created with all those thumbnails and all the category, all the library elements. All right, second question. Is there any default size for the pictures that are uploaded in the libraries? This is a great question. It's a great question because we have a lot of customers that are very concerned in protecting the clip art, and they don't want anybody to use that clip art if they are visiting their page and extracting the clip art. So what we always recommend is keeping the size of the clip art for the production file very, very high resolution, right? So for those that don't remember, we have 2 steps when you're creating a template: the production file and the preview. This is something that we didn't cover, but you can send us an email so we can show you how that works. But on the first step, we always recommend having the images being 1000 by 1000 pixels, so we can make sure that those are really high quality and will print well. And on the preview, which is what shoppers will see, we always recommend have those images below 200 by 200 pixels. All right, next question. What if you want a stylized product image to show first rather than the preview? A stylized product image to show first. Martina, do you? Okay. Do you want to answer? Okay.
Yeah,
you can
why
join.
not?
Yeah. So we have somebody else joining our webinar. We have Martina here.
I'm a guest here to help answer some questions. I was actually going to answer them on the chat, but whatnot. Let's just do it live. So, Matt, you were asking about having a style picture. Yes, you can do that. You can go to the settings, preview settings in Customly, and choose if you want the preview to appear by default or the product picture that Shopify uses to appear by default on your product page. If you can style your Shopify product picture as you want. So you have that option to choose whatever you want to show when your customer opens that page.
Great. Next question. I have both my own website and an Etsy store with the same products. Can I use the same templates for my Etsy store, or do I need to recreate them all? Well, the great answer is that you can reuse all your templates. So you can push them to your Shopify store, you can push them to your WooCommerce store, and you can push those same products to the Etsy store just by creating a single template on Customly.
Let's see, we have another one here. How does this work with POD companies? Do you adapt to their interfaces?
Yes. So as of now, we're working with Printify and Printful. So as I said before, right now what we are doing is we are streamlining the production part. So every time that you receive an order on your e-commerce platform, we send that order automatically to Printful or Printify so they can fulfill that process. In the future, what we will also do is read the catalog and have the designs that your templates being applied to their products. So you can also create products by using Printful or Printify catalog directly. And we will also are planning to integrate it with other very popular print-on-demand or fulfillment services such as CustomCat, Customly, and Gooden.
So Jen is asking if we can implement stroke color for curved text. Jan, this is something we are working on. We're going to release it in the next couple months. So yeah, that will be available.
All right. So
and Pat, there will be a link for this recording. We will upload it on YouTube, and we will also share it on our communities in Facebook, which if you are not following, I recommend you to join our group so you get all the latest news and tips and whatnot.
You can, this is your answer. This is your answer. Okay, another question. Are there any plans for Customly to add tools for price increase on items such as paint color rather than me developing individual product extras through Shopify directly? My concern is that customers can remove my paint color when they are in my cart, causing confusion for my fulfillment team. If not in development, though, the Customly developers, what is your suggestion to combat this concern as efficiently as possible? So there are different ways for you to increase the pricing according to the personalization selection. There is one way that is just using Shopify or whatever e-commerce platform you're using variants, right? So you can add a different price for a different variant. So if you want the color to increase the price, you'll just create a variant that will have that extra price included. What we have as of now is a way to also add child products, as we call them. So you can link using Customly. The parent product, let's say, is a mug, and then you have the different ink colors. For example, if you want to charge more, if the customer selected 2 ink colors, then those ink colors will appear as additional items on the cart. The truth is that if the customer removes that extra item from the cart, they won't be charged. But we can discuss other ways to make this process simpler. If you have any ideas, we would love to, have this conversation later in time. Feel free to shoot me an email. I will add my email later so we can continue the conversation regarding that. It looks very interesting.
So Daniela did a very interesting question, which says, apart from Etsy, where can one purchase clip arts? Are there any other places where we can find clip arts, pictures, probably free resources? Well, I'm telling you a sneak peek here. Customly will soon release our own clip art library that you will be able to use freely in all of your products. This is something we are planning to launch on February. We'll be sharing some clip art later on this week as a sneak peek. But yes, you will have tons of amazing clip arts to be able to use in your products.
All right, guys, I really appreciate all your questions, and the fact that you're asking us these questions really help us create the future of our software. All the features that we created are based on customer feedback. We love to deliver more and more value to our customers. So feel free to, send us suggestions. I really love the fact that, you wanted to make the process simpler when, increasing the price according to the option selected. So all these conversations are super useful for us to build a better software. And feel free to, always reach out if you want a new feature, if you need something, if something can be simplified that you can understand. We love to hear that.
So I guess it's time for the juicy part of the webinar, and we're ready to move on to the raffle.
All right. So
as Alex said, we'll be giving away one free Shopify subscription of Customly for life. Like for life, as long as your store exists. All we're going to do is ask a simple question. If you've been paying attention to the webinar, you should know the answer. Alex is going to ask the question, and you just post your answer on the chat. And later, after this webinar, we'll be doing the raffle with all the correct answers.
So the question is, which of these is not a type of library? Option A, font library. Option B, vector library. Option C, size library.
Okay, we're starting to get answers.
All right. Great, guys. Well, so once again, we really appreciate your time. We loved you having here. This was a lot of fun. Let's hope we can, organize another webinar soon. As soon as we know who won the prize, we will publish that on our social media and on our website.
We will be posting the live raffle we will do. We'll record it and we'll post it tomorrow. We'll share with you the results and post it on our social media. And as Cecilia said, if we didn't answer your question, we have everything recorded on chat. So we will email you the answer right away.
That's right. And before we wrap it up, I wanted to mention that we also have a referral program. So if you bring one friend, we can give you a full month of Customly for free. So if you have a friend that is interested in trying our software, just let us know so we can, I would say, collaborate and benefit from this together.
Every friend counts. So if you bring on 12 friends, you'll have the entire year of Customly for free.
Wow, so. That's not bad. All right, guys, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure having you here, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Bye-bye.